Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put our First Division Coventry City winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. I feel like I'm at work. I've got my work headphones on. I'm your host, Mike. It's an association with Lucky Star Gin. And on our panel today, we've got Dan and we've got Will, and they're going to share their thoughts on the must-win draw that we had against Crewe. And we're going to look forward to Horsham in the Cup. Don't forget to get your tickets because I believe it is selling very well, which is a bit of a surprise. As always, engagement is important. Please like, share, tweet, do all the other bits and pieces, especially now it's coming up to December and the Elf on the Shelf Advent calendar will be starting. There will be lots of eye rollings, lots of disappointment, but it's starting on Friday. Every day, I think 7:15, I've got it set up that it's going to go out. So yeah, by 7:20, your day will be ruined. We're going to dive in very quickly. Will, it's mid-August since you were with us. How have you been?
Thank you for asking, Mike. Thank you for having me on. I always love coming on here. I've been okay. It's improving the season, so it's better to watch. A few draws, but still we're improving, aren't we?
We are slowly, but yes. But you've also added some more strings to your bow since we last saw you.
Yes, I've been helping out with a bit of commentary. I've had so many people compliment me and say, I've got face for radio. So I thought, I give it a go. So yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, good. No, it's very good. With the wrong audience, because obviously we have commentary on our TV. We're mostly there. Dan, it's been about 2 months for you, and I think you're down for about 2 in the next month as well, or 3 in the next month. How have you been?
Yeah, generally not bad, apart from watching us. But everything's been busy at work, life and stuff like that.
Since you were last on, we have dialed it up to 4, 5. The improvement has been.
I can't even remember the last game I did, actually.
I can't remember, but I think I called it, does Matt get a pass? So that kind of tells you where we were.
Did I burst into tears? If not, it might have been an okay game. Was that the one before?
That was after. Yeah, that's when I stopped recording. So a couple of bits of news and stuff. So the ladies' side, you're going to have to keep an eye on the socials for where it is, because unfortunately some of the fixtures have been moved around to protect the pitch as much as possible. So there's some at different places. I did see one going to be at Carshalton, and I kind of winced a little bit, but it's at South Park now. So but keep an eye on the socials to see where they're going to be. The coach travel, which they're very kind, keep saying that it's sponsored by me. It's only the pay machine that's sponsored by me. I have to say, it's just the pay machine. So taking your money is sponsored by me. But Stockport is 50 quid. Hope I'm going to get a little poster in the hut as well, so it won't show my face. I promise you, it will just have some bits on it. And the 50-50 is going well because of the extra tappy, I hope. But it was won by Nick, 109 quid he got, and then he buggered off. Straight after the game, so it's like his fruit machines. I got my delivery of my Redbubble merch with the new designs. I've got them here ready to go. I mentioned to Firstborn that I might try my hand at an unboxing video. No, is what she said quite clearly. And then I said, "Oh, I'll do that little thing where you change your shirt and you like click your fingers." No, absolutely not. You're embarrassing me. Okay. Well, like that's going to stop me. So yeah, I might come up with something, whatever the fuck that does. And there's a chance I might get Matt on for a mid-season review. So if you've got some sensible questions, send them to me. Things like, why are we so shit? I'm probably not going to ask him, even if it is on the video. He still could get me. So sensible questions, please fire them in, and I'll do what I can if it happens, if I can get some time with him. But on to the match. I was there nice and early, got to hear the team news. Didn't get to do the fan hub in time, so I didn't get anywhere near the 11 out of 11. Other than hearing the team news, I would never have guessed it. I mean, obviously Steve coming in, no Ben and Aidan on the bench, and Amari on the bench with Lee coming in at the top. What were your guys' thoughts at line-up, Dan? What were you thinking? I did see you slumped at the other end of the bar, so I'm guessing I can imagine some of them.
I wasn't overly surprised that we made changes because with Ben coming, especially with Ben and Dino coming off at the weekend, I mean, the only one I really expected we might see, I thought might be Dom Gape, because obviously Matt was a bit hopeful he'd feature. But apart from that, I wasn't overly surprised that we made those changes. That we made the changes we did. Yeah, I mean, that was probably one, like you, I probably wouldn't have called it. But having sort of sat and thought about it, it made sense. Just, you know, Aidan apparently hadn't trained a lot, so flogging him over 2 games was probably not a good idea. So, and Lee I thought Lee Angle played fairly well in his little cameo up at Grimsby. You know, he put shift in and he did quite well. So yeah, I'm not surprised he got a start to take a bit of the weight off Aidan O'Brien. But yeah, it was like you say. I don't think you'd have guessed who'd have started.
No, I mean, I'll get your thoughts in a sec, Will. But I was hoping that, whereas we've been using Lee as the big fella to lump the ball forward to, and it's clearly not his game, I was like, well, actually, this could be a good dynamic with Harry as the big fella and Lee running on as Lee kind of wants to play. That's what I was hoping. But Will, what were your thoughts sort of ahead of kickoff with the changes?
I mean, well, we know how effective Lee is when he's coming off the bench. His first few goals for the club were, I think, off the bench performances. So at the same time, you know, we want to see that, but it's nice to see him getting a start, and he isn't that type of target man that Harry Smith kind of provides. So it was a nice, you know, you need to kind of vary the options you have in the top 2. So it's nice to see Lee and Harry getting a start. But yeah, maybe we should, my one thought is how effective Dion Pereira is off the bench. Maybe see him start a bit more.
Yeah, we may well. I mean, there's been a few where he's not available to us. And yeah, he hasn't shown what he showed last night previously. I mean, he's had a couple of games where he's done all right. And I think we said, Dan, he's the kind of player that when he comes on, you're not sitting there rolling your eyes thinking, oh, God, we've weakened the team. So you're not overly upset with him coming on. But yeah, I think last night was a particularly good game for him. But we kicked off, we were all right. I mean, start of the game, obviously, social media's labelled it as a must-win game, which I think is the 462nd in a row must-win game. But we started okay, and they were 4th, 5th, something like that at the start of the game.
4th, I think.
Yeah, so they're a good side. They're not they're not the teams we've been drawing with recently. But before their goal, were you feeling quite confident, Will? Were you feeling we were in a little bit of control, or were you just waiting for the inevitable?
I think Crewe were going to score. That was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? They're a very good side. I remember watching their first leg against Derby in the FA Cup. They're such a strong side. Maybe some people don't really expect it for whatever reasons, I don't know, but it was pretty, obvious that Baker Richardson was going to cause some sort of problem. I think we did well to hold out for as long as we did, because Sutton like to start strong, but Crewe are very, strong side. So I think Sutton did well to hold out for as long as they did.
Okay, Dan, you put it far more eloquently on your social media when they scored. Mine was just balls, big, hairy, sweaty balls. What was the goal for you? Were you like, oh, that's a good goal, it would come in, or were you like, oh?
Yeah, I thought we did okay first sort of 15, 20 minutes or so it was. They obviously, you could see from the way Crewe were playing why they are. Move the ball very quick. They were a little bit more direct than I was expecting. But yeah, they got it forward quick, caused us problems wide, but then that's no different to a lot of sides this year. But they didn't create masses. They had a lot of ball, but we seemed to be coping reasonably well around our own box. And, it's not like they peppered us with tons of shots and chances and we were clinging on by our fingernails or anything. They put us under pressure. You could tell that they're a good side, but I don't think we'd been in any huge danger up to that point. And then again, we go and just shoot ourselves in the foot. We give a ball away in our own final third. And the stupid thing was we had 3 yellow shirts around the ball and we passed it out into space to the one bloke who had all the time in the world to take a touch, set himself and bend it in from the corner of the box. Fair play. It was a good hit. It was a good finish, really good finish. But up to that point, I think we'd only really they'd only forced one real save out of us. And they hadn't really torn us to bits. It was just a bit frustrating, really. But
yeah,
it's us, divvying up the gifts again. It's something we've done in a little while, but yeah, it was frustrating.
Yeah. Then I can't remember the timelines. I'll be honest. I can't remember if we had the foul / yellow cards. Definitely not a foul or the goal. But we'll talk about the Christians, the cynical, horrible scything challenge on Christian, where their player got a yellow card for complaining, and so did the manager. We've not had that much this season. I don't know. Did you come across when you saw it? It was definitely not a foul our way. Probably wasn't really a foul their way either. It was just one of those things, but definitely wasn't our way. What did you make of that incident, Will?
I don't really know. It was one of the things I didn't really have an opinion on at the time. And even now, it's just like, I don't really know how to sum it up. I think maybe come to Dan for this one.
Yeah, we did find it funny, didn't we, Dan? And especially the second, the first booking was funny. The second one was just hilarious.
Yeah, it was just one of those ones where it was, again, we'd lost possession a bit weakly, and it was just like, just someone bring him down, because the bloke had gone past like 2 people already. It's like, for God's sake, someone just bring him down, take the card, take the foul, and just break up play. So Christian's kind of managed to kind of bundle him over, and you've got, oh great, finally someone's done what we were asking. And then when the ref pointed the other way, it was like, are you quite sure? It's just one of those odd refereeing moments where you're like, really? Everyone around us was just laughing because it was just so blatantly a foul their way. And then the guy's obviously got up, seen where he's given it and given him a mouthful to get the yellow card for it. It's just little moments like that. When you've had a season like we've had, you just got to take your entertainment where you can get it. We're 1 down at that point, so everyone's a bit, oh. So yeah, it's quite a nice little moment of light up to that point.
Yeah, we haven't had that. Most of those decisions go horribly against us. Like a couple of weeks ago, Smith getting just pulled apart, and then the ref going, "Oh yeah, that's a foul against the big fella." But we did score. Didn't know much about it because we think it might have been a header in from Harry, and then from Lee, and then from someone else, and then someone else, and who knows? But we know the ball landed in the net, and it was Lewis. Oh, I've done it again. It was Lewis who scored, and that's back-to-back goals at home now. I don't think he scored in the EFL until last week, but he's now scored 2, or 3 weeks ago. He's now scored 2. But did you think that was fair? Will, I'll come to this. Did you think it was a sort of fair reflection on the game at the point, or did you think we just nicked one there?
No, I think it was fair. I think maybe this may be a hot take, but it seems as at the moment, based off outcomes, Sutton are playing for draws. Is that bad to say? But it wasn't like it was unfair that Sutton walked away with a point. It was another good performance, and again, it's a physical opportunity which Sutton took, and it's show me he wins the header. Even Angol had to go at it, and then eventually John pokes it in. So deserved.
Yeah, good. Dan, do you think it was deserved or?
I think over the pattern of the first half, generally speaking, yeah. It was. I mean, we certainly weren't out of the game. We pressured them a little bit. We built a little bit of a head of steam up. We certainly didn't fold after their goal. I mean, all right, they hit the bar. But I mean, I mean, we come back. It was one thing that's been crap lately is our delivery from set pieces has been really poor, and that was one of the few good ones that we got in the first half. Picked out, show me with a header, good save from the keeper, and I think it was Liango who had a go at it, and I think he might have hit the post with it or something. I even watched the video this morning. I still couldn't tell what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And Louis just managed to lift it in. So I think overall, I think the performance in the first half warranted the goal. I thought we did okay. We certainly caused them a couple of problems. It was a little surprising at the time it came, but yeah, I thought we were good value for it at half time.
Yeah, I mean, second half. I mean, we were hoping for goals at our end. I know you said, "Oh, well, at least I won't see any goals," but we were hoping for the goals at our end. I was hoping for 2 of them, but never mind. But we kind of held it. Then our curse seems to happen. We got another injury. So we had to shuffle again, and Christian, his first ever time at left back was in a professional game of football. So that's nice. There was, I think, one moment when he went that you're like, oh God, this is going to be awful. But I think he got used to it relatively quickly. He sort of settled in. There wasn't anything too dramatic. What were your thoughts, Will, when obviously on the injuries and Christian going to left back?
Well, it's just been a season of just bad fortune for Sutton, and it's another injury. I think that's now 10 injuries, I believe, with Lewis added to that. So, but in terms of Christian and adapting, every player Matt has seen to sign since coming to the EFL, since I've watched, has been versatile. Everyone can play anywhere. If you look at Enzio last season, he did very well defensively. Could have been handy to have him this season, maybe. But, Christian's come in, and did we see him being a decent left back? No. But, I mean, with the amount of injuries we've had, keep him there.
Yeah. Okay. He's only trouble is Gabe going to be back for midfield. But Dan, what were your thoughts? I mean, Andrew posted up earlier that our injuries, who we could be without on Saturdays, is Bizanis, Rose, Barden, Goodliff, John, Milsom, Hart, Gabe, Eastman, Kasimu, Kashket, Mella, and then Toby, Taylor, and Ollie Kinder, all cup side, we think. So that's a decent starting 11 that we can't play. But how's sort of the injuries situation for you? I think someone said this is probably as bad as the worst injury crisis we had last season. And
it's up there. I mean, the injury runs. We've been since we've been in football leagues. Kind of, we've had a spell in every season where we've struggled with just a little bit, being a bit thin on the ground, squad wise, just through injuries. Obviously, last year was terrible. First half of the season, we were just constantly battling, trying to get people fit. This year, until about now, it's not been horrendous, but yeah, now we're on another run where we've got a lot of players unavailable. I wouldn't say it's the worst we've had. It's going to have it might have a bigger impact because of the position we're in, and we are desperate for points at the minute. And also with the game we've got coming up on the Saturday, the last thing you want to be doing is playing sort of a scratch side against a team who are going to be, absolutely bang up for it it's a complete free hit for them. They were out, and they've been, because of the cock up, they've been reinstated. So, yeah, I mean, they've less than they normally would have had to lose, I think. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one Saturday. So
yeah, well, there was moments we were worried that Christian had also got injured because he did start limping about, and I did sort of see him afterwards and said, just double checking what was that limping about, and then he said it was just the studs down the back of my Achilles, I think it was, and he showed me the rip on his under sock. So I don't know what Clive's going to make of his actual sock, but he said it hurt, but obviously he'll be fine. But we had a chance, and I know you have thoughts on this, Dan. I'll come to your sort of annoyance at the post. But Will, what did you think of the build up to Aiden's great chance and the we'll call it finish?
Yeah. So
what did you think of that?
Going back to your point of Dion coming on and being a player that you don't really roll your eyes at, he's just so direct. And I think there was a chance in the second half where Josh Coley got the ball and he could have just carried a run and he stopped. But Dion just doesn't stop. He just keeps going, and it looks like, I think the guy even gives him 2 hands in the back at one point. But he just stays up, doesn't go down. And so hats off to Dion for that. And for the finish, it's just unfortunate. Maybe Aiden, let's just say he wasn't fully fit and he wasn't fully focused for it. But yeah, if it hits the post slightly to the side, it goes in off the post. But yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, go on, Dan. You had a lot to say yesterday about the
angle.
angle.
It was just frustrating when it's 2 very good sighters that Aiden's had, and he's hit the woodwork both times. And to be honest, both, if you took them in the context of if those both chances have both gone in and that's how it finished, we win both games. And suddenly we look a lot different. The league table looks a lot different for us. Yeah, I mean, that was I think the most frustrating thing was it was one of the few kind of really decisive kind of attacking moves we made on the night. We played, the performance was good, it was solid, but there was a couple of times, and like Will said, there's a couple of times where Josh got into areas where, he's a winger, he's quick. You would expect him to give it a little bit of that old David Adjeboy, just a knock and a run, and just try and, do the guy for pace, try and get outside him and get crosses in. And he doesn't seem to do that a lot. Whereas it was just nice to see Dion just drive up the field with the ball at his feet. All right, he didn't have a lot of other option because there wasn't a lot of anyone around him. He had to wait for support, but it was just nice for him to drive at them, stretch the game a bit, and that is something we haven't really been able to do a lot this season. So it was nice to see him do that. It's just a shame that I don't think looking at the replay of it when I watched the video this morning, I don't think Aiden quite caught it as cleanly as he'd have liked. The way he came onto the ball, he had to kind of dig it out of his feet a little bit, which is why he had to kind of check to get the shot away. I don't think he caught it quite as cleanly as he would have liked, which is why it came back off the woodwork. But yeah, it was frustrating.
Yeah, it was the face of it as well. It was like an inch either way, it would have been slightly different. But yeah, it was like literally, it was almost as if it was passing it to the woodwork to come back to him. But with Dion and Josh, I do know that obviously you want to keep possession, but as a winger, if you get into that position, you cross it, you can quite rightly throw your hands up and go, hang on, I did my bit. I got that ball in the box. If you aren't attacking it, that's a whole different set of problems. And as we've mentioned before, running into the box, you never know if you feel that foot, you might get a penalty. One of the small wingers might get a penalty, not the big beast forwards.
I mean, yeah, that's another reason why everyone's going on about we've only had one penalty this season, I think?
0.
Or have we not had one? Oh, right. Well, that's why, because you need runners in the box. You need ball at feet, and you're forcing defenders to make a decision, or they're stretched, or they're turning. and that's where you get penalties from. And unfortunately, that's generally what you find with sides in our kind of position don't get a lot of penalties, because you're not stretching sides. You don't have guys like Dion nipping into the box and trying to skip round a player and catching a leg. It's just the way it is.
I was just going to add as well, as a winger, if you do burst forward, you break away. First of all, if you cut back and keep possession, pass back, and give it to someone else so they can spray it across, then whatever goes wrong is not your fault. But if you burst down the line, break away, and hook in across, and it hits Mike stood on the corner, then all the fans are gonna be like, oh. So maybe it's a case of they've done it once or twice, and they don't want to have all the point or the blame on them.
Yeah, that is a definite fair comment, because there is a lot of, as soon as some people make a mistake, that you can just hear the whole around, and to keep doing the same thing. I mean, as a winger, I think someone said on the forum, you're going to beat your man maybe 2-3 times out of 10. You're not going to beat your man every single time, because defenders can play as well. And we live for the 2 or 3 times, but we remember the winger not doing it 7 times. But there was some questions, and this was an odd one I picked up. Harry Smith, there were a few times when the ball wasn't going quite where he wanted. He was almost giving up and just being like standing still, and not quite the hands on the hips or throwing them up in the air, but it was just clearly disappointed with what had happened. And then the other side, I think you pointed out, Dan, that one of the tackles he made towards the end was brilliant. But were you noticing him getting irritated, or are just people looking for trouble?
I don't think I did. I mean, as a forward, obviously, a player like him, he lives off his supply. He's not going to be someone who's going to get the ball on halfway and run at defenders and beat 3 men. He's a big lump. You want to play into him. He either wants it on his head, so he can, in areas where he can attack it with his head, or even just areas where he can get a touch or a foot in, or get it in the box and turn and try and get a shot away. So, I mean, if the delivery's crap as that kind of forward, he's understandably going to get frustrated. I mean, if people are pointing it out, I don't see why. I mean, the guy's got 10 goals for us already this season.
Yeah,
we would be royally fucked without him, quite frankly. So if people want to go, Harry Smith's having a little bit of a Mardy moment. Well, give him some decent ball then. Have a go at the guy that gave him the shit cross. Have a word with the guy, someone like Josh Coley, who's get back rather than try and beat the man. And if he's made his run and the winger knows where he's supposed to be, try and get the cross in. And as we showed, as Tranmere showed, they did absolutely nothing for 90 minutes except get it wide and put one low ball in. And we turned it into our own net.
Yeah.
Percentages, make something happen. So yeah, if people are picking up on stuff like that with Harry Smith, I mean, if you're going to dig players out, all right, if that's your thing, fine. But there are much worse candidates for sort of, shall we say, picking fault with their moments in the game. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
Will, what was your fault?
I mean, Dan's said everything I wanted to say, swear words and all. I think, the delivery hasn't been good all season. If you look at the goal against Cambridge, I think the goal, he got the ball on the floor and quickly just turned and fired it, or there was a goal similar to that goal. And it's not like the crosses were amazing. He's just made it work. So he's got like 10 or so goals from mediocre delivery. And of course, when you're a big player, you can't do it all. So you are relying solely on your teammates to do what you do in training or do what you've been told to do. So maybe him showing frustration is okay. I can see the point that's coming. I can see the question, but maybe it is a bit pedantic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like the other forwards are exactly chipping in. No one else is really chipping in apart from Lewis lately and a couple of other, like Omar as well, with a couple of goals. I mean, the midfield's offered very little this year. So there's a lot of weight on him because he is effectively keeping us afloat. So yeah, let him have a little Mardy moment. If he's still banging in the goals, I don't care.
You can sulk for 30 minutes and play for 60.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he had his one of his points against Fylde was he was out on the right wing and pelted down the wing and set this beautiful cross that you're like sitting there going, if only you were at the end of that cross. And it's almost like he turned around to the wingers and go, see that? That's what you're supposed to do. But one other comment, we won't call it a criticism. Mr. Arnold in goal. First half, his kicking was okay. And in fact, we commented, Dan, that blimey, we've got a goalkeeper who can kick the ball. And in the second half, it seemed as though he took offence at someone in the dugout or Matt, and he just was aiming for the dugout. It's like, what's going on there? So, I mean, overall, I mean, he struggled for his performance, for his appearances, kind of obviously slipped down pecking order where we got Dino back. But how's he done for you in the few games that you've seen? Dan, we'll start with you on that.
He did all right when he came on at Grimsby on Saturday. Didn't have masses to do. Made a couple of punches and made a couple of big right at the end as well. They had a corner and he made a big, just came off his line, pulled, made a big catch, killed the game. And I thought he played okay Saturday. On last night, he made a couple of tidy stops. You know, he couldn't do much about the goal really. The guy bent it round and put it in the far corner. Can't really blame him for that. So yeah, I mean, he was solid first half, but yeah, second half is whether it's lack of minutes or something, I don't know, or maybe he had there was a bit of a breeze or something he couldn't quite get his eye in with. But yeah, his kicking second half was pants really. It just, and again, that was the joke on the terrace. There's someone in the dugout like annoyed. Pissed him off or something, to nick his half-time orange, and he was just punting it into our dugout for nearly 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he made a couple of big punches late on. Was coming through a crowd, trying to, assist his defenders, not leaving his defenders to do all the work. So you can see he's a big experienced keeper. So yeah, if he can get his kicking a bit more consistent, then. But no, overall, I thought he did okay. He didn't let us down.
Yeah. No, I mean, there was one moment, Dan's mentioned the punching. There was one moment, where he came out to a big crowd and he kind of full on punched it with both hands. And you're like, if you just kind of opened up your hands a little bit, you could have maybe caught it instead of punching it. But how did you feel he did? I mean, it must be difficult for him and rusty, as Dan said.
Yeah, I think he was trying to punch it towards that person in the dugout. But I mean, I liked him. I think he's very good. I think it was I can't remember what game it was, but he conceded earlier in the season. May have been a cup game or a trophy game. Cambridge, that was it. Really unfortunate goal to concede, and it's obviously nerve-wracking. It's going to affect the confidence. But his shot stopping was amazing. Good save against Tracy, good save against Nevitt. I think he did ever so well.
Right. So Dan's going to love this bit because obviously we're two different people, glass empty and half full. We've moved up to mid of the form table. Okay. We are unbeaten in the league in November. Okay, that's very important. We're unbeaten in the league. Not won any of them, but we're unbeaten in the league in November. And actually the last 7 games was just one defeat, which was the Morecambe one, which you could kind of say, well, was that unlucky? Andy Kay put on the forum, we're no longer the team with the most goals conceded. We're joint with Colchester. And Forest Green have now got the worst goal difference. So it's not as bad as we've been worrying about. We're not cut as far adrift as we thought we could be. Yes, there's lots of injuries, but a lot of the injuries seem to be fairly short term. It's not like last season where we're looking at injuries a months rather than weeks. So, Dan, is there enough to show green shoots of, do you know what, it might come good, or are you still very much must wins all the way?
It's not must wins all the way for me. It's more the last couple of weeks, my sort of focus when I've been talking to people is home games. We have to get wins at home. That, if anything, is probably where we're going to save ourselves, because whilst we have, shown a lot more life away from home in the last couple of games and nicked a couple of points, that's not going to save us. Winning our home games is what's going to keep us up. It's that simple. I didn't really expect too much from last night, if I'm honest. What I wanted to see was how well we competed with a side, because we'd not really put away Grimsby. We hadn't, we probably should have beat Grimsby and get on the second half performance Saturday. I mean, Tranmere were there for the taking. They were absolutely nothing special when they played us. I don't think Colchester were brilliant, although that was probably a point earned rather than anything else. So I just wanted to see how we could kind of, could we get that little step up and kind of compete with a side up at the top end? Because December and January is looking brutal. Got a lot of tough games. It gives me a little bit more hope that if we can get a couple of people back fit, get a consistent run with, same 8 or 9 most weeks would be a big help as well. More performances like that. And like you say, we're not adrift yet. We're still bottom, but we're still only 4 points off 22nd. So it's doable. I think Grimsby and Tranmere are going to pull away now because they look a bit more settled. But you have to take League Two traditions into account. Someone always has a bit of a nosedive, a bit of a run for the second bottom. I think Forest Green. I think unless Forest Green sack their manager and get someone else decent in, I think they might be looking bottom 2. You've just got to now get scratch points. You need to just pick up some wins from somewhere. And the way the season's gone, we're looking a bit more capable. If we could get 1 or 2 wins together, then 1 or 2 more might come. Confidence. It breeds confidence. And then Absolutely. If you can get 2 or 3 wins, in the position we're in, that makes a huge difference. So there's still hope there. We're not dead yet.
Well, that's what kills you. Will, what are your thoughts on the last couple 6 weeks, I guess, to putting performances in?
Well, I think the performances ever since I did speak to Matt recently, and one of the things he did mention is the midweek games do have an effect. And I think the spell where Sutton started to pick up was when we didn't have a Tuesday game. Out of the first 12 weeks or something, I think we played 7 of those 12 weeks. So, and if you look at that spell, in 11 games we conceded 26. I think we've conceded 1 goal a game for the last 6. So, something's changed, something's improved. Every coaching session matters, and if you look at the stats and numbers aren't everything, but unbeaten in November is pretty good for a side who were getting embarrassed on their away trips and playing really well at home and just coming away with nothing. The recent performances haven't been bad; they've been really good, and I think for each one you could argue we should have 3 points there. So although, you're leaving, going to Green Lane, walking away in the cold thinking, it's just another point, it's all going to add up. If you draw every game for the rest of the season, so be it. There's bound to be 2 worse teams than that. So maybe we'll just draw up on 1, that's fine.
Well, I did not a huge amount of work, but on that form table that was put out, I did notice a couple teams and how many points per game they've got in the form table. I started going, right, let's do that over the rest of the season. Woohoo! Bradford are on 43, we're on 44. Lovely. So, well, we're going to quickly move on to the cup match, which, I can't understand why it's selling out so well, but I think the fact that the Horsham fans have all nabbed their tickets has made some Sutton fans go, whoop, hang on, we best get our tickets in as well. To a lot of the people who were saying we should have made it a cup price deal, I think you've kind of been proven a little bit wrong. So all we would have been doing is chucking away £8 a ticket if we'd made it a tenner. But they're, as Dan said, they're on a high, and they've done very well in cup competitions this year. So they're obviously playing well. They're going to fancy their chances. They played well against Barnsley, and a lot of people said if they play like they played in the second half, the only thing there is we've done that or we've played really well in a game that we've lost because the other team take their foot off the gas a little bit. I know I mentioned it earlier in the group, but I wasn't overly pleased with Craig going, "Oh, they'll be well up for their cup final," because I just held my hands in the head going, "Hang on, people used to say that to us, and it used to really go, right, we'll show them." So we shouldn't be doing that. But what needs to happen for us to win the game? Will, we'll start with you on this one. How do you see Sutton winning this?
Well, it's going to be tough, isn't it? I mean, Sutton have been playing well, so at least that's going to give everyone some confidence, players, staff, fan base. But going back to the Craig comment, it has got unfortunate connotations, hasn't it? It kind of, I also agreed and was like, well, it's going to, if a Horsham fan does see that, they're going to be like, right, let's go back to the group, let's tell them, let's go there and sort them out. So hopefully Craig doesn't have that turned into a meme and, some of the fans go back on him. But Sutton, they are playing a tough team. Whether they did get Barnsley or not, they're playing two hard teams. It's a banana peel, or it's we lose to a good League One side. But unfortunately, with Farnborough last season, it's happened. And I think when they played Farnborough, it wasn't too bad. So the form, now you're in good form, it's going to be even worse if you have something to look forward to and that goes wrong. But I don't know, it's all up in the air. I don't really know what to think. At least if they do lose, you focus on the league. Yay.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I mean, I was looking at it earlier, and I think Claire mentioned that, come on, it is what we would be saying if we were going to one of the big clubs. And when I looked, I was like, well, actually, there's 3 divisions between us. And if we had drawn a Burnley, for example, to go up there, we possibly would be. As a nice day out.
It's not like I don't think he was being condescending on it. He just finished 90 minutes, and it was just a sort of a comment. And it is, it's like you say. I mean, we're an old school non-league club. We know that score more than well enough. It's not said in a condescending way. It is, as I said earlier, it's a total free hit for them because they were out. Mm-hmm. They were out. They comfortably beaten in the replay. After they got a great result up there. They didn't play terribly. They just started slow at home, and I think actually that's probably as good a template for us as anything. Start fast. Do not let them settle. Get at them. Get at them quick. Get at them early. Get a goal or 2 up, and then just work the game from there. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Matt likes to get his team starting on the front foot. So I don't know. Do you maybe kind of forget Amari Patrick's sort of less than stellar defending capabilities and just say, you kill, get after him, get behind him. Same with Josh Coley. Bomb on. He's a non-league defender. I want. You're a full-time pro. I want you doing him every time with the ball, every time. And that's not to, put down Horsham. They've had a great run. They're doing well. They're clearly a good little side. But you've just got to get into them early. And Barnsley showed that when they went there. They got at them straight away, started quick, 2 goals up, nice and early, and basically had the tie won. You can then, as long as you don't do anything bloody stupid, hang on. It's you can get the tie won early and just kick, and then there's no stress, there's no worry, there's no.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of hinted at it, and you're joking, saying concentrate on the league. How big could this be? I know Matt wanted to do something in the FA Cup, so Matt's going to be desperate to get through to the next round. But how, in the scheme of the season, how important is this game going to be? Dan, I'll start with you. I know if we win, it's going to be very important. If we lose, it's going to be not so important. But looking ahead, how important do you think it is?
I don't know, really. I mean, to be honest, getting through gets us, I think it's something like 60 grand. So 60 grand in the bank. And if you can get a Premier League side, a reasonably sized one away, one of the top 5 away, it's £1 million. as good as, you know, because they'll do a cheap entry and you can cash in. So financially it'd be brilliant, because then that takes us into January and we've then got a couple of quid in the bank that if Matt, you know, if we've still got injuries and things like that, Matt can, you know, might be able to go out and get 1 or 2 additions for the rest of the season to see us through. And also another thing is, if we get through to the third round, it means we don't have to go to Notts County.
Well, we do, but not on that.
Well, we do, but it'll get bumped out further. And also we just break up that little run of playing a lot of the top sides as well. So that might, you know, help level things out a little bit. So yeah, it's a big one. I mean, I'd certainly rather we won than get knocked out at home by an Isthmian League side.
Give Notts County fans a few more weeks to get rid of the anger,
the wave.
Yeah, give them a few more weeks to get over it. I mean, they haven't got over it since August, but hey, you never know. Will, what do you think these sort of implications on the season are, or not that big a game?
My short-term view is, you know, win the game. It's very good memories for the fans. You get a bit of money. You get to go to a big away game if you get one, or you can get another team in your league and lose, and it's just a complete waste of time. But no, of course, the players would like to get through, the fans, and it's a big occasion, isn't it? But long-term, if Sutton do get through, get another injury, could get injured. Matt could get injured at this rate. Anything could happen. So
he might do with that goal. Let's go quick. Let's Steve Arnold goal kick.
Yeah, Steve Arnold goal kick to the head. So yeah, is it worth it if Sutton lose their position in the EFL? Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Is it going to be worth it, a little cup run? So maybe, you know, it isn't the end of the world if you go out. It's just maybe focusing on the league is a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously two ways. They're going to want to win it. I mean, Matt's going to want to win it and get a draw at Tottenham. Is what he's going to want. But yeah, it can take your focus and calm people down away from the league. Trouble is, the longer cup runs go on, the more you get a fixture pile up, and we've got very few players to fulfil that fixture pile up. But obviously, hoping that we will, as Dan said, just put them to the sword early, and then just see out the game. That would be nice. But it's time for the predictions. The league is going marvellously well. I keep dropping further and further back in the league, even though I've tried to rig it as much as possible. But what's your prediction, Will? What do you reckon will happen on Saturday?
I think Sutton will win. I really do. But it won't be easy. Horsham, very good side. For such a local side, I haven't actually seen them play live for a few years. But they've got some really interesting players, obviously ex-Sutton players. They've got some players who have played the Dorking Wanderers, who I've seen and I know about. So they've got some really good talent. But again, it's non-league versus football league. So they should have that cutting edge on paper. So I think it's a Sutton win, but it's not going to be easy.
Okay, guess the score.
Oh, this is the worst part.
I know.
Yeah, go big or go home, 4-0.
4-0, blimey.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy, and then he comes out with 4-0. Wow. I'd hate to see what easy is.
Well, if it comes in, though, it's going to be like, oh, wow, that will be.
Yeah, exactly. Dan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, if we get someone like Dom Gates fit, and if we, like I said, if we attack it, start on the front foot, just treat it like any other game, get at them quick, don't let them settle. You know, they're going to have 1,200 fans there behind them making a load of a racket. Yeah, just don't let them settle. Don't let them start dictating the game what they want to do. Get in the lead early. I think they'll score, but just because of I don't trust our midfield or defence with our record this year. But I've got a feeling it'll be 2-1 or 3-1.
Okay. I've gone 4-2 because I think they're going to score first, and will eventually kind of pull away with it towards the end. Hopefully, is what I'm hoping for. But an exciting game to keep us warm because it's going to be cold again. I heard someone told me snow.
Great.
Snow flurries.
I don't care, I'm in Munich, so I'm not there. I'm in Munich.
Oh yeah, you're not there. I forgot that. Oh, you're not going to see a classic FA Cup match, and we're all going to rave about it. And Dan,
I I'll have a face full of blue vine, bratwurst, and pickled cabbage.
You can watch it on iFollow. Though. Oh no, hang on, not FA Cup match.
No, FA Cup.
No, yeah, no, can't watch it anywhere. I don't think. Okay, thank you very much, gents. We're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. We're going to be back on Sunday with Gabriel and Paul Darby. So get any questions sent in. As always, appreciate your ear attention. That's one of the designs I've done. It's a good one. And like, follow, share, all the rest of it at Sutton Podcast on social media. Subscribe on your preferred podcast platforms. And until next time, we will thank our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to Will and to Dan. Thanks to the listeners. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm off to look up what the hell an unboxing video is and see if I can do it. And do not forget, Friday, Elf on the Shelf Advent Calendar. It's just definitely not worth it. I mean, it's so worth it. Sorry, I went wrong there. Take care and see you all soon. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!